Very well, Council. You may call your witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Commissioners. I call Mrs. Fatou Lamin Faye.
I swear by the Almighty Allah.
I swear by the Almighty Allah.
That the evidence I shall give to this commission.
That the evidence that I shall give to this commission.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing.
And nothing.
But the truth.
But the truth.
So help me Allah.
So help me Allah.
Thank you. You can wait for the instruction.
Could you kindly state your names, please?
My name is Fatou Lamin Faye.
Where do you live?
I live in Brusubi.
What work are you doing at the moment, Mrs. Faye?
I'm not doing any work. I'm a private citizen.
Sorry, you are?
A private citizen.
Would you like to sit down?
Yes.
Please do sit down. You were a public servant? You were in public service?
Yes, I was a minister.
You were a minister. Can you tell us during what period you were a minister?
From September 2004 to January 2017.
What portfolios did you hold during this period?
Minister of Education from 2004 to 2007. And Minister of Business to 2017.
When, before you became minister, what did you do?
I was the director at the Gambia Technical Training Institute.
GTTI?
Yes.
For how long?
For about 2 years.
3 years?
2 years, yes, ma'am.
And before that, were you still in public service?
Before that, I worked at the Directorate of Technical Education. And I started from agriculture, actually, in 1974. And I left the Ministry of Agriculture in 1978 and joined the Ministry of Education under the Directorate of Technical Education and Vocational Training from 1980 to 1996, when I left and went on training, came back and stayed with the ministry until 2000. And from 2000, I joined TANGO, the Association of Non-Governmental Organizations, for a year. In 2001, I moved to the GTTI to understudy the director there then, and took over in September 2002. And I left again in 2004 to become minister.
During your tenure as minister, how many accounts were you signatory to?
I was signatory to the mobilization account in government. That was the only one.
Yeah, that was the only one.
Yes.
As Minister of Education, were you signatory to any of your accounts at the ministry?
No, ma'am.
Why did you become signatory to the mobilization account?
It was a special assignment that was given to us, and it was opened by my colleagues. And then when they moved out of office, I was directed to be a signatory to that account in 2013.
It was opened by which colleagues?
We had Dr. Njoguba and Mr. Mamburinjai and Honorable Fatoumas Diop, the former Minister of Tourism and Culture. And it was after Dr. Njoguba left that I became a signatory to the account together with Mr. Mumudu Sabali.
I'm just going to show you an exhibit, BB70, for you to confirm that this is you, and you have said you're the signatory. Just confirm that this account opening package reflects you and your signature. That's you?
Yes, that's me.
And you became a signatory in 2013?
Yes, please.
Now, you said it was a special assignment. What special assignment?
It was the visit of the president, the then president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that was coming here for a state visit. And we were asked to be part of the organizing committee then. And
I'm sure you will agree. I'm sure you will agree that there were other state visits before then. There must have been other state visits before this visit of the President of Nigeria.
Yes, that is the visit of President Mainju, but I was not in country when it happened.
During the whole period you were minister, I'm sure there were other heads of state as well, before even the President of Taiwan. So I'm trying to understand why ministers of state would become signatory to an account. You would agree that's an operational matter?
Ma'am, I believe it depends on the nature of the assignment. Because I am not a signatory to any of the accounts under my ministry. And because I am asked to chair an organizing committee or a finance committee, I'm expected to retire the funds that have been put into that activity at the end of the exercise.
You're saying it depends on the nature of the assignment. Are you aware of any government rule that would allow you as minister to sign checks and be dealing with cash, public cash?
I have not been opportune to see that, but I know that in my appointment letter, under the responsibilities, I am told that the assignment that is given to me, the assignments can be varied or revoked at any time by the person that appointed me.
And that's the president?
Yes, no.
And you understood that as including anything at all?
Not really. I understood it as being given assignments to coordinate activities that require control of funds, and I'm expected to retire because I'm told that at the end of the exercise I should retire the funds that are given so that the president knows how the funds were disbursed.
What appointment letter are you talking about?
My ministerial appointment letter.
Your ministerial appointment letter?
Yes. Under those responsibilities.
You were appointed as minister. In that letter, what were you appointed as?
As Minister of Basic and Secondary Education. That's the last one I have.
And did it say anything about organizing?
No, it didn't say that. What it said.
Yes.
Sorry. It said, and I quote, under my responsibilities, that my responsibilities include the responsibilities hereby assigned to you may at any time be varied or revoked by me in accordance with the provisions of Section 72(1) of the Constitution. And
you are not reading that in terms, don't you think, let me just rephrase, don't you think that is within the context of the portfolio that has been given to you?
Yes.
That you may be given any other portfolio?
Yes.
Did you consider this mobilization, managing a mobilization account, as a portfolio?
It wasn't a portfolio because the mobilization account was created, to my knowledge, to lodge funds that are provided by the Ministry of Finance for national events.
Exactly. Now, Ministry of Finance has a permanent secretary, and you have an accountant general. You also have your own permanent secretaries, directors, who were accounting officers for millions, including project funds. So do you think all those people were not competent to handle an operational matter like arranging, visiting, state visits?
They are very competent, but this is an assignment that is given to me and others directly within cabinet. And as such, we are asked to retire those funds at the end of the activity, and that is what brought us into signing the text.
Right. Don't you think any assignment that you have been given has to be consistent with the laws of the Gambia in relation to the management of public funds?
Ma'am, yes, I believe so, but at the same time, I think the most important thing is to be able to account for the funds that are given to you. And for me to have control over those funds, I have to be involved in them.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the laws provide that as far as public funds were concerned, only the accountant general can be paymaster general, can be also the overall accountant of government funds. That didn't matter.
It does, but the nature of our appointments vary from that of, for example, my permanent secretary. My permanent secretary was appointed through the Public Service Commission. I was appointed directly by the president. And when he tells me that you chair this activity, the organization of this activity, and make sure that you retire the funds at the end of the exercise, I think the easiest thing for me, and for me to be able to keep track of where the funds are going, is for me to be part of the process itself.
I see. All right, I hear what you're saying. You, as a member of that committee, during the period that you were signatory, received about how much? Did you keep account of that? How much was paid from Central Bank into that account whilst you were the signatory?
Whilst I was the signatory, the Goodluck Jonathan's visit, for the Goodluck Jonathan's visit, there was $3,084,360 is paid into that account, which was coordinated at the level of the Office of the President.
For which period you said?
In 2013.
Yes, and thereafter another?
There was another $22,200,000 that was paid into the account in 2016.
So in total, during this period that you were signatory, you managed 25 million?
I managed the 22,200,000. For the 3,084,360, I was only a signatory. I had just come on board, and the funds were being coordinated because checks were brought to me from the Office of the President by the Secretary, who was responsible for the coordination, the Secretary to the task force, who was then the Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Office of the President.
So what are you saying about the 3 million? I still don't understand. You were issuing checks with regard to those 3 million.
They brought the checks for me to sign.
Yes.
And I signed the checks together with whoever a signatory was during the period. And it may be Honorable Fatuma's job.
Did you check?
I tried to monitor the payments, but the receipts that I have, the documents that I have, had my signature alone on it as a fallback position. I was expecting that a report will be submitted at the end of the visit, but I didn't receive a copy, because normally the reports are submitted to the Office of the President.
What reports?
The financial statements of the funds that are provided.
On the 7th of November 2013, $3,084,360 were paid. At the time, Mamadou Sabali and yourself were signatories to the account. Yes, you are saying that you did not keep track of the 3 million. What you did was to keep track of the 22 million.
I kept track of the 22 million.
Not the 3 million.
The 3 million, I signed some of the checks, if not all of them.
So you're saying you are not in a position to account for it?
I think the person that should account for that one is from the Office of the President, because they were coordinating all the activities. And they were the ones that requested also for the funds.
But you were signing the checks?
Yes, I wasn't signing alone. I was signing with
Mr. Sabali?
Mr. Sabali,
yes.
or Fatuma's job.
But that still makes you responsible, don't you think so? You were authorizing, in other words, you were authorizing the withdrawal of funds from the central bank,
yes.
from the mobilization account,
yes.
together with Mr. Sabali.
Yes.
So I'm sure, as a very experienced public servant, that tells you that you would have to be accountable.
That was why I was trying to keep track of those funds, and I have copies of some of them, some of the receipts and the invoices, but it was when I signed, but the second signatory was not there. For me, I was expecting that a report will be submitted at the end of the exercise so that I get a copy. And that is why when we had the next assignment, we decided to put in place mechanisms to be able to really keep track of the funds and retire the funds.
So you're saying that even as at that time, you didn't have the documents to account for the 3 million?
I have some of them, but the signatories, I was the only signatory on it. The second signatory was in there, and these were taken away. And I was hoping that at the end of the exercise, they will bring a report, a copy of the report to me, which I didn't. I followed up.
I heard you. What I want to understand, Mrs. Fay, is whether there are any documents in existence accounting for the 3 million owed.
I don't have the whole of the 3 million.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's put that aside for the moment. What about the 22,200,000?
For the 22,200,000, The approved budget was 22,160,897.08. And the Ministry of Finance rounded it up to 22,200,000.
Are you able to account for that sum?
Yes.
Fully account?
Fully account for the sum.
Now
Actually, when the amount was paid into the account on the 28th of July, there was an opening balance of 258,944.42 butus.
Okay.
The Guarantee Trust Bank donated 50,000.
That's fine. We have the statements. All we want is for you to be able to account for monies that came in from the Consolidated Revenue Fund.
Yes, I'm giving you the total sum of what was in the account before we started disbursing it.
I see it. As I said, I have this statement and I see it. What we are interested in this commission is public funds.
Yes.
We note that there were donations into the account. So do you have the documents to account for the 22,200,000?
I did, and I submitted a copy to the investigators.
What you are having is that the original copies?
These are not the original copies because those had to be submitted to the Office of the President. All
right. Do you want to have admitted the folder that you sent to the investigators?
Yes.
Okay. Can you give Mrs. Fay this folder, please? Can you confirm that these are the supporting documents you wish to rely on with regard to the 22,200,000?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can you receive it? What visit was this? The 22,200,000. What was it intended for, by the way?
It was for the celebration of the 22nd July anniversary.
Of 2013?
Of 2016.
Of 2016, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I'm applying to have the bundle of documents in this folder admitted as from the witness as her supporting documents for the 22,200,000. Can you give the folder to the? It's here, this folder. Give it to the chairman.
file concerning approved budget for the 22nd anniversary celebrations of the July 22nd revolution as it relates to the mobilization account at Guarantee Trust Bank and containing related documents, that is to say, receipts, checks, vouchers, etc. Admitted, marked MS 56. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Fai, 22,200,000 is an extremely large sum of money. Was it budgeted? Was it in the budget, national budget?
Well, I wouldn't know that. I know that there's a budget line at the Ministry of Finance for the celebration of national events. So what the Ministry of Finance has, I don't know. What I do know is the funds were provided and paid into the account.
You didn't find out whether there was a budget? You are not interested to find out whether it was actually coming from the budget?
Well, I don't think that was for me to find out.
It wasn't for you to find out?
It was a budget that was approved, that was looked at by the organizing committee, sent to the president for approval, and he approved it. And from the office of the president, they wrote to the Ministry of Finance to request for those funds, and the funds were paid into the account.
Do you know whether it was a supplementary appropriation or it was part of the budget for 2016? That's what I want to know.
I wouldn't know that.
You didn't find out? You didn't know?
I didn't find that out.
The 3 million amount, the 3 million, what was that for?
The 3 million?
Yes, 084.
It was for the visit of President Goodluck Jonathan of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2013.
All right. The folder that you have submitted will be reviewed, and you may be asked to come back if we have any questions on that folder.
Okay.
And with regard to the $3,084,360, I suggest you probably consult with Mr. I'm just suggesting, it's up to you, with Mr. Mamadou Sabali, to see how best you can account for those funds. And if you do need any assistance with documents that may be with government, let us know. Let the Secretariat know.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
I don't have any further questions for Mr. Chairman, for Mrs. Fay.
Thank you, Madam. You may leave.
I call Mr. Mamadou Sabal.
I think that's the only one I call, Madam.
International.
Mr. Sabali, may we remind you that you're still under oath? If that's okay, you can have a seat.
Mr. Sabali,
Yes.
you were signatory to several accounts. One of them is the mobilization account.
Yes.
I'd like us to start with that account today. Did you collect the exhibit? When did you become signatory to that account?
I don't quite remember, but I know that when you come in as SG, by default you become signatory to all the accounts under the Office of the President.
All right. Now, this, I'll just show you, firstly, exhibit BB70, which has specimen signatures. Just confirm whether you're one of them, for the record. You're one of the signatories?
Yes.
On that record?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You came in as Secretary General. Can you remind us the date?
June 2013.
June 2013.
Yes.
And you left again? When did you leave?
Around June 2014.
For about a year. Now, during the period that you were signatory to that account, some payments were made into that account. You were signatory at the same time as Mrs. Fatula Minfai, who at the time was the Minister of Basic Education. There was an inflow on the 1st of November 2013 in the sum of 3,084,360. I'm sure this was brought to your attention. Did you account for that amount?
I don't actually remember the inflow you were talking about.
Okay. You recollect, I will show you, maybe that might jog your memory. I'll show you a statement from the account. Let me just, page 10. The date is 7th November 2013. Does that help?
Is it the one marked with the orange?
It's paged. If you look at that page, there is only one inflow in the sum of 3 million, and it's that inflow I'm talking about.
This is page 1. Is this the one you're talking about?
It's paged on the right-hand side corner to the right, top right. All the sheets are paged. That's what I mean. They are numbered, page 1, 2, 3. Go to page 10.
10.
Yes.
Yes, I see the 3 million here.
Yes. Do you remember that money?
No, I don't.
I do remember Mrs. Fatula Minfai says that that was with regard to the visit of President Goodluck Jonathan. Does that in any way help in jogging your memory?
That sounds right.
Right. Now, what was the arrangement regarding that account? How the mobilization account, how were you supposed to account for funds that were paid into that account?
Like I said, when you come in as Secretary General, you become signatory to these accounts by default. Some of these accounts, actually, I don't remember offhand, but when I met your panel of investigators and I was asked, I actually told them I don't remember anything about this. but that whatever Fatou Lamin Faye says about it, I would take as fact. And based on that and the documents I was shown, I could confirm that I was a signatory to this account and that certain expenditures were made in relation to the official visit of the former Nigerian president, Goodluck Jonathan.
Okay. What I would like to understand is why you were relying on Fatou Lamin Faye. We just want to understand how this account was managed. You are signatory. Did you expect to account for the monies that were leaving the mobilization account? What was the arrangement for accounting for the funds that you were authorizing?
Well, I was a signatory on these accounts,
yes.
And I know that all government transactions are subject to audit. And when that period comes, the officials charged with this accountability process would make available all documents related to transactions for verification. That's by default from my service in the country's financial system.
Where was this account being managed from? Because you had 3 ministers. You had the Secretary General and Minister of Presidential Affairs, who was yourself. And then you had the Minister of Basic Education. You also had the Minister of Tourism and Culture. Before that, you had the Minister of Finance. So amongst these 3, was there a ministry that was managing this account? What was supposed to happen?
Well, all I know is I am a co-signatory, and I do know also that I've been signatory to other accounts in tandem with other ministers. But due to the busy schedule of the Office of the Secretary General, sometimes some of these ministers actually take the lead in managing transactions for some of these accounts and also the events associated with the accounts.
So you cannot tell us anything specifically about the way this account was managed? Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember.
I'll show you the withdrawals from the accounts, which were done mostly by check, I think almost all by check. And I'd like you to confirm from the 12th of November, until the 25th of March 2014, whether all these transactions were co-authorized or co-signed by yourself. Can you show the witness these documents? It's from Exhibits BB 71.
Yes, these checks bear my signature.
Okay, thank you very much. And what I understand you to be saying is that you are relying on whatever documents Mrs. Faye provided to this commission?
Yes.
Right. Can I have the documents back? Now, Mrs. Faye, in relation to the 3 million that I first drew to your attention, was unable to provide documents on the 3 million, at least all the documents. She's been given an opportunity to account for the 3 million. Since you were co-signatory with her, do you have any supporting documents, anything to show how the 3 million odd was spent?
I don't have any documents personally in my possession, but I know that all transactions I had anything to do with during my term were backed up with documentation kept in the records department of the Office of the President.
Records Department of the Office of the President.
Yes.
Right. We had, when you were here the last time, extended to you the possibility of access to documents that you required. Did you avail yourself of that opportunity?
I did come twice, but the Secretariat informed me that they needed time to put those files in order, and they would call me back to come and identify the files. I've still not been called to that effect. But I am still available anytime they find it convenient.
Well, it's not actually as a favor to us. We are availing of the opportunity to give your own explanation. And if you have any documents to rely on, and they are with the Secretariat, and please, it's in your interest, I think, if you don't mind my saying so, to contact the Secretariat on any issue that you are asked.
I'm assuring you of my availability.
Okay.
And I've been here before for that purpose, but they were not ready for me.
You are signatory to the International Gateway account?
Yes.
I'd like to show you Exhibit CB18. Can I have CB16, please? CB16. What was the purpose of the International Gateway account?
I think it was to receive payments of revenues accruing from the operation of the International Telecommunications Gateway.
And what was the International Telecommunications Gateway?
From what I know,
You may proceed.
yes, from what I know, it's the gateway through which the country's telecommunications dealing with the outside world passes through, and these operations generate revenue in favor of the country.
Who was paying, what was the source of the funds into the gateway account?
During my time, it was the entities who were granted the license to manage the gateway on behalf of the Gambia.
Had you seen the license agreement when you became Secretary General?
Not the old one. When the operations of the one who was there when I came ended, I was privy to an incoming one. That was the MGI one. I saw that one. But the one that was binding us with TEL, by the time I come in, the operations were on, so I just became a signatory to the account.
You were a signatory to the one with TEL, apparently, and not the one with MGI.
What I remember is signing the one with MGI, not TEL.
Okay. Well, we'll show you the documents.
Okay.
Where's the MGI one? whilst we are waiting for CB16, I'd just like to show you the first transaction I would like you to explain. This is a transaction dated 8 October 2013 for the sum of 610,000 US dollars. Could you? You have Exhibit 16. Exhibit 16. Do you have 16? Did you bring it?
Okay, whilst we are waiting, can you tell us the meaning of MGI, the acronym MGI?
I don't remember.
I see. Very well.
Have you seen the transaction?
Yes.
Okay. You authorized the transaction
Yes.
together with Mr. Ture.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Batata Jawara was here this morning, and he confirmed that you had sent him to the central bank to receive monies relating to this transaction.
Yes.
What happened to the monies?
We handed it over to the president, the former president.
You handed it over to the former president?
Yes.
Who handed it over to the former president?
I would not remember. As, when these transactions happen, sometimes the person receiving it could hand it over to the president. Sometimes it's given to me to hand it over to him, and sometimes the president would send staff from his residence, the orderlies, to come and pick it.
So with regard to this particular transaction,
with regard to this particular, I don't remember exactly how it was handed over to him.
So, how do we know it was handed over to the president?
Well, I guess through testimonies from the people who were present, if it involved the staff, the soldiers, orderlies in his residence, it's actually recorded in a choir book, and the giver and the receiver would sign. I spoke to you also in my previous testimony of a system I devised with my then Deputy Nuha Toure, where occasionally we would lump all these transactions in 1 minute and forward it to the president for his confirmation and endorsement that the directives were issued and implemented as directed by him. Those documents are also filed.
Yes, you know there are numerous transactions, as you well know, Mr. Sabali.
Yes.
And we can ask the Commission, we require your assistance to unravel some of these transactions.
Yes.
You'd agree that 610,000 US dollars is a lot of money for any Gambian?
Very well.
Yes, so if there is any documentation that would substantiate what you're saying, we request that you direct the investigators to it, or you make an effort to contact the Secretariat to retrieve the documents.
Okay.
Exhibit 16 better. It's all right. This is 1 million.
Mr. Sabali, while Council is going through, can you tell us, to the best of your knowledge, what all this money was used for?
All this money as in this particular transaction?
And any that you may relate to it. The accumulation of cash. There was a trail of flow of dollars, euros. Any idea what this was used for?
I would not know specifically how the president would use these funds. But I know that I've been privy to transactions where he would give out cash to state events, to youth organizations, to artists, to other people who would come and visit him, well-wishers. But to tie specifically any particular transaction to how the president used it, I cannot tell that.
It's a lot of cash.
Yes, a lot.
Even for gifts.
Yes.
We're looking at millions.
Very well.
And the idea is for national development. These funds were meant for national development.
Yes.
But having it into the State House through military escort to the president, there is simply a better way to develop the country.
Absolutely.
So if you as SG do not know, who would know?
Well, the former president would know. I could tell you one thing also. I remember occasions where he would be going on this provincial tour and he would ask for cash to be withdrawn, handed over to him.
Why foreign? Why foreign?
Well, sometimes it's foreign, sometimes it's actually dollars, because the withdrawals are both in local currency and in foreign currency.
Mostly foreign, we have seen. On
Yes.
some occasions, a lot of local, like the 21 million.
Yes.
Yes. So our idea is for national development, it needn't have gone through the State House. It could have been done through our institutions.
Very well.
So what we want to know is, how do we account for this money? It wasn't an individual possession. It was national wealth.
Very well.
Receive sometimes through your signature. There is an element of accountability that simply doesn't permit, I don't know. Observation, presence, coincidence, something should help the Gambian people find out where part of the money, if not all, is gone. And that's what we are trying to find out, to the best of your ability.
Very well. You would agree with me that also there is a legally instituted commission who is working by the law, and I know the law goes by evidence. So I don't want to come here to make any speculations, because I know the former president is a very complex person. Whether people believe that or not, I know it better. So I don't want to make speculations that would turn out to not be right in the future. So that's why I'm very careful what I say here. I only say here what I know to be a fact. But you would appreciate, I don't know whether you know also, that my relationship with this commission did not start with my coming here to sit in public. I have collaborated with your investigators. I have explained in a written document the framework of operation of the presidency, and given freely, to best of my knowledge, how these accounts are operated, how these monies are received, and everything that I could remember very well to be fact, I gave in written documents signed by me that is available to this commission. Okay. And I'm willing to cooperate.
Let's help you. Yes. For your information, we're not privy to whatever you have submitted. That's the reason we're asking you.
Okay.
So do not mind repeating yourself.
Well, I want to make that known to this commission then, because I was called in the name of the commission. The people who called me in the name of the commission, that they are preparing for the work of this commission of inquiry, and that's why I cooperated.
There is a stage. The stage has not gotten to where we have read what you've written. So please help us. Well,
I'm not sure I can right now, where I'm sitting, try to restate everything that I've stated, because there is a lot of information, and it was not just one particular interaction or documentation that I suspended, but as and when the occasion arises, I'll tell you what I remember to be facts. But I repeat, I don't want to speculate at a commission of inquiry. I'm very mindful of that, and I hope the commission understands that also.
Fair enough. Counsel, your witness.
Sabali.
Yes.
I showed you this transaction for $610,000.
Yes.
I'd like you to look at this document, which is MS-43. And it's a minute from one of the, from PR/C/503, volume 6, 141NT.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that minute? Can you read that minute, please?
It reads, Your Excellency, following our discussion on the issue of Tobaski Ram sale, I have identified the recently opened International Telecommunications Gateway account at the Central Bank as having some money, $610,852, being government revenue paid by TEL on 28 September 2013. I respectfully propose that my humble self and the Secretary to Cabinet be signatories to the account. The amount will be reimbursed to the accounts once the RAM sale is over.
That was your own minute to the former president?
Yes.
I'll show you again CB18, which is the withdrawal of $610,000. What is the date of that minute, by the way?
This is 8 October 2013.
I'll show you exhibit CB18, which is also dated 8 October 2013, for the withdrawal of 610,000 United States dollars.
Yes.
And could you kindly tell me whether it has any connection with the minute that you have just read out? You have another copy of exhibit CB18 with you?
Yes.
Yes. Could you tell us, is there any connection? Thank you. Between the minute you just read out and the withdrawal of 610,000 US dollars?
Yes. I think these two transactions are related.
So how are they related? Could you expatiate?
From the record you have shown me, I can remember and infer that the money withdrawn was used by the president to purchase rams for Tobaski sales, as he used to do at what he called reasonable prices, with the understanding that he would reimburse the funds into the relevant account.
Did he reimburse the funds?
I would not know.
Why don't you know? You were signatory to the account.
Well, this account is just one of the accounts under that office. And I left that office less than a year before the subsequent Tobaski. So that's why I don't want to speculate on the matter whether he actually paid.
Well, we are not actually asking you to speculate. This is fact. On the 8th of October 2013, the amount of 610,000 US dollars was withdrawn from this account.
Yes.
For us Gambians, this is a lot of money.
Very well.
You are Secretary General and you are accounting officer for your office.
Yes.
And according to your minute, you were suggesting, it was your suggestion, that that money be withdrawn and utilized for the purchase of rams. And that the money would be refunded. And my question to you is, was the money refunded?
My answer, Ma, is I admit that the money was withdrawn as per a discussion we had with him, and that the money was handed over to him, and they went and purchased rams and brought it back, and there was a designated officer at the presidency, Fatu Jangom, to account for these repayments.
Fatu?
Jangom.
Okay.
She was partly responsible for especially loans that were given to civil servants. Some of these rams were given to civil servants as loans. She was accounting for these monies, and the loan is giving out like 1/6 over a period of 6 months with, of course, a grace period. And I'm saying, I confirm that all of this happened when I was there, but I did leave that office. I was fired before the subsequent Tobaski, and because of that, I cannot confirm that this money was paid or not.
So there was no time limit within which it should have been returned?
Sorry, excuse me.
There was no limit. There was no limit as to when the money would have been returned?
That's not specified in the documents that I have here. Did
you try to find out whether the money was paid at any point? Since
no.
You had suggested that the money be used for Tobaski rams?
No.
As a matter of interest, why would you as Secretary General suggest that the President use monies in public funds to purchase rams?
It's simply because of the fact that, as depicted in the minute, this came out of a discussion we had with him. So it would not just be me coming to tell the President, take this money and buy rams. It came out of a discussion, and the whole discussion could not be reflected in the minute due to the busy nature of that office. What was recorded is that the President took money that he promised to refund, that he was going to use to buy rams to help Muslims during the Tobaski.
So can we understand, because that minute on its own just indicates that you were making a suggestion to the President to use money in that fund to buy rams and refund it later on. You are saying there was a discussion. What was the nature of the discussion?
The discussion would be, as usual, the President will call us, and normally there would be a third party.
Sorry, Mr. Sabali, if you're here to help the Commission, which I presume you are, could you please put your answers in context? I'm not asking a general question. I'm asking you specifically, what is the discussion that led to your making a suggestion for public funds to be utilized to purchase rams?
The discussion was that the President, as customary, wanted to buy rams to sell at reasonable prices for the Tobaski. Out of that discussion, a consensus was reached that monies be taken from this gateway account and given to him as a loan to purchase these rams, sell them, and once the sale is done, the money would be refunded into the relevant account.
Was that okay with you as Secretary General? You think that was proper, that was right? We just want to understand your thinking at the time.
Well, not necessarily right per se, but it was convenient at the moment under the circumstances.
What was your connection to the President selling rams? What was your interest?
Nothing, absolutely. I had no connection with it.
I see. I'll show you Exhibit 16. I'd just like you to confirm for the record.
I have a related question. Ram sale, is that the best use of executive time? You as SG, writing a memo, whether suggesting or confirming his idea, and him as the head of state. Honestly, ram sale, either of you, do you have expertise in ram sale to put the money that belongs to the country to profitable use? What was the background?
I think your question comes in two levels.
Exactly.
Whether that was the best use of executive time.
And then whether you have expertise
to
turn it into profit.
Yes, I don't want to be seen to be defending what happened here, but perhaps you wanted context.
No, the answers could be simplified to yes or no. Context you prefer?
I don't want to give a yes or no answer to this because this is complex. This was the President who wanted to help people in a practice he had been doing, trying to get rams at affordable prices.
Is it ethical to use money that doesn't belong to you to help people? Just simple professional ethics. The civil service has a code of conduct.
Very well.
I'm asking you as SG.
Mm-hmm. Well,
as a professional, is it ethical to use money that doesn't belong to you to help people?
It is not, but there is a gray area here. This is money he was borrowing to do ram sales, and he promised to refund. And in terms of use of executive time, there are many things we did under that office that didn't fall exactly within our purview, but when we saw that it was in the general interest, we used our time for it.
There were better people to execute that.
Well, once you are working the president and the president gives you an assignment, you don't tell him there are better people to do that.
The executive and the Secretary General are not expected to be involved in ram sales.
I was not involved in ram sales.
You minuted. You
Yes.
used executive time to discuss ram sales,
Yes.
and you minuted and suggested. So that was use of our executive time. That is involvement. Secondly, you mentioned loan.
Yes.
Is there any provision of our constitution or the civil service regulation that allows anybody to loan money to the president? Under which agreement?
Well, this was the president loaning money to himself.
Could he?
Well, no.
Thank you. So it was out of practice. It was wrong.
Yes.
For your information, that loan has not been repaid, even though you claim no knowledge of it because you had left.
Yes, I had left.
What about the expertise?
The expertise in what?
To be involved in ram sales?
I was not involved in ram sales.
You said here one of the reasons you participated in your prior testimony was for anything you got involved in, it was about directives.
Yes.
Without directives, you wouldn't be involved.
Very well.
Okay, so the borrowing or that lending came by way of a directive.
Under my office.
Exactly.
But I didn't get to participate in the actual ram sales. That's what I'm saying. I was not
You
involved.
sent instructions to have it done.
Yes.
Directly or indirectly, you participated.
I did participate in the recording of that transaction, and which I thought was in the interest of the country that this got recorded.
And if you thought it was in the interest of the country, what happened to follow through? Tobaski sales, 2 weeks, 1 month, you stayed for 12 months.
No, not 12 months. This is October. I left in June, and part of those rams were given on loan to civil servants and security officials.
So there was not enough time?
There was not enough time.
Okay. Thank you. 3 months. 1/6. That's fine. Cancel your witness.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just for the record, I'll show you CB 16 for you to confirm. That you became signatory to the account on the 8th of October 2013 with Noha Ture. And for you to confirm that you are the person who signed on the specimen signature form.
Yes.
I'll just show you. You did make a statement, but your statement wasn't explicit as to most of the transactions. It's up to you whether you'd like to make another one when you've had a chance to look at the records.
Which
but
statement?
I'll show you some of the transactions. The gateway. We are still with the gateway.
Okay.
I'll show you this transaction, which is dated on the 3rd of June, 2014. It's the sum of $250,000. And there was a memo written by yourself, addressed to this governor of the, well, a memo written and addressed to the governor of the central bank. I'd like you to confirm whether this was written by you. For Mr. Sanajaju, Chief of Protocol, to receive the sum of $250,000.
Yes, this was signed by me.
Was signed by you.
Yes.
Now, there are several things. We have come across several memos that you wrote to the governor that were not on letterhead, and for authorizing the withdrawal of funds. Firstly, this $250,000, what was it for?
It was given to the president, former president.
It was given to the former president.
As directed.
Do you know what was it for?
I don't know.
So, who asked you to withdraw the funds?
The former president.
Was it minuted to you?
Not necessarily, but like I explained the last time, a lot of these transactions, after some time, we send him a minute detailing the transactions that he gave us instructions and we executed it and he would sign off on it.
Did you send any such email?
Sorry?
Did you send any such minute on this one?
On this particular one, I don't remember.
Mr. Sabali, did you ever think that you may have to account for these funds since you were signatory to this account?
Absolutely, yes.
What steps or precaution did you take?
The precautions I take include those minutes I was talking about, and I was glad that I saw Nuha Toure come here and actually give several examples of those minutes that we did send back to the former president for him to sign off that he actually gave these instructions and we executed. And in terms of accountability, I was not just waiting for a day after Jame. I was prepared for a day that within his own government he would accuse me of actually doing those things without his authority. And that's why we took those moves, which were very risky, but we were able to get away with it by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Refer to Mr. Toure. You see, Mr. Toure did make a lot of copies of documents.
Yes.
And that seems to me to be consistent with a person who was taking precautions. Now, what you've been telling us is that you did, in some occasions, without being specific, take the precaution of writing back, minuting back to His Excellencies, just to confirm that the transaction had been done so that you can have a record. But you have not been helpful to us in showing us any of these minutes. And certainly for transactions in the range of the amounts we are talking about, which are in regard to public funds, one does expect that a person would make some sort of record, even a notation, so that you might be able to explain what the money might be for or the circumstances. Do you understand where I'm coming from, I'm sure? I'll show you, yes.
May I react to that statement?
Yes, you can.
Those documents that Nuha Toure presented here, you would see that all of them were endorsed by me and sent to the former president by me. There is no way he could have sent it to the former president without my endorsement. And on occasion, it took me weeks before I was able to summon the courage to actually send those minutes to the president, because I know the implications. I never took a single piece of paper out of State House into my house for reasons of my safety and my life. And when I was kicked out and detained at the NIA, one night they picked me up at 11 p.m. in handcuffs, went to my residence to see if I had any government documentations there. I was glad and happy that I didn't keep any of them in my house. What I did was to do what I could do at great risk, and the records were kept at the presidency under my direction and supervision, and it was those records that my very able deputy then, Nuha Toure, was able to take out at some point and bring here. I was fully involved, and I actually directed all of those moves.
Well, thank you for that explanation. The only challenge we have is that Nuha, your very able deputy, unfortunately was not involved in every transaction that you were involved in. So he may have had explanations for the transactions for which he was involved, but not all of them. So one transaction I'm going to show you, this is not really a transaction, but it's a statement by the prepared at the central bank by the governor, listing a number of transactions totaling $36 million, which according to this memo were monies that were withdrawn by the office of the president over a period, and that they were then passing some sort of journal to regularize it. I'm going to show it to you. Just kindly look at it and see whether there is anything helpful you can tell the commission. You can show him this. Show him that. Now you will see that he starts by saying during the months of March and April 2014. This is a period which you have confirmed you were the Secretary General since you left in June 2014. Is that correct?
Yes.
He says the Central Bank of the Gambia made various payments on the request of the Office of the President. Documentation in the form of letter of instruction with the appropriate signatories is pending. In this regard, authorities hereby granted to pass necessary entries to debit the International Gateway account with amounts indicated below. And he lists out 5 transactions on various days from the 13th March to 24th April, totaling 36 million, as I have said. Is there anything you can tell us that would be useful with regard to these amounts?
The first entry is clearly...
And, sorry, before you answer, could you look at the attachments? Because some of the attachments were actually seen to be signed by yourself. Okay?
I've gone through them.
You've done?
Yes.
Yeah, can you explain any of them?
Well, these are some of the transactions that the President would request as a matter of urgency. And because at the material time, the second signatory to the account is not in, I would do a note to the governor to release these funds with the understanding that once the signatories are all in the office, we would do the proper debit request. So we've done these things before, but normally after some time, the former governor, Ahmad, would call me and remind me that we need to regularize these things, and we would regularize them. You would see that by the date of this transaction, this was April, very close to the time I left, and that means we didn't have sufficient time for me and the governor to reconcile again. But it was a regular practice for the former governor, Ahmadu Koli, to after some time call me and appeal to me to make sure that we regularize these transactions.
Mr. Savali.
Yes.
There is just one thing that concerns me. You were Secretary General, head of the civil service, and it obviously would be assumed that you were aware of all the necessary government policy documents, including FI, include the financial instructions, that is, and so on. Why was it necessary? Because you were a signatory, not the president, to this account, you and Mr. Nuha Toure at the time. Why couldn't you just comply with procedure by, following the proper process of withdrawing funds from the central bank?
Well, we were working under President Jammeh, who I said here before, very powerful, did several things out of procedure, including tinkering with our very constitution, including entrenched clauses, and everybody's hands were tied. Not because everybody wanted to just tag along, but the situation was such that one had to be extra careful dealing with this 800-pound gorilla that we were all dealing with at some point during the 22 years that he was here. So this was not a normal dispensation. And as far as I know, the authorities we had to sign these documents and to do these things devolved from him as the chief executive. So we were not just acting because we wanted to act, but there were constraints surrounding everybody, even those out of government, like commercial banks doing things that they knew were out of order, but this was President Yahya Jammeh. He was not like any other president. And at some point, within this dispensation, within this jurisdiction, some of us, all we were thinking about is how to save our lives and to pray that we exit the system in one piece. These are the circumstances.
Mr. Sabali, my question really was quite a straightforward one. I understand all those circumstances that you're talking about. I hear what you're saying. My question is simple. This was the central bank. Yes. You were the office of the president. You were the signatory to this account, and with Mr. Ture. There was a procedure. I'm sure you are not saying President Jammeh told you not to follow the procedure, to withdraw the money. All I'm asking, why was it necessary for you and the governor to be calling each other to withdraw money from the central bank without just following the right procedure and signing and sending it and collecting the money? That's what I want to understand.
The problem is the way you are saying it is not the way it happened, like me and the governor calling each other.
That's why I want to understand, because what the governor says here is that during the months of March and April, the Central Bank of the Gambia made various payments on the request of the office of the president. And you have told us that the governor had called you on occasion, asking you to regularize certain withdrawals. I'm asking, why was that necessary when there was a procedure for withdrawing money?
I think I gave you the perspective, the circumstances under which we were operating. And this is important to remind this commission and the public that is watching, that we just did not act out of recklessness. We were patriotic, diligent professionals working in a system that was very difficult to operate within.
Mr. Sabali, you don't have to answer the way, of course you can answer the way you want, but I just want to bring you back to this particular exhibit, CB18. Here are 5 transactions which all indicate that money was withdrawn without any documentation at all. And subsequently, the governor then tried to regularize the procedure. So I'm just asking you why it was necessary to do it that way. Is there any explanation you have specifically regarding this?
You know, I'm sorry if I don't seem to be answering, but the way you frame your question sometimes, if I give you a direct answer, like you said, without documentation, there is documentation. The documentation is not adequate. I recognize and accept that. These transactions were done as matters of urgency directed by the president, under whose authority we were operating. Now, I sent governor a note rather than no documentation, and we had a system where after a couple of transactions, he will come back to me when the signatories are in place to make sure the proper documentation is put in place. They were directives given by the president as a matter of urgency, and my operation, my function, was derived from him as president, and I did what he wanted to do under the circumstances with the understanding and the willingness that we would regularize the situation like we did before. Unfortunately, these ones came too close to the time that I left office.
Just one last question on this. Why the memos without letterhead?
Sorry?
Why the memoranda without letterhead? Why not on your letterhead? Why?
I believe I explained that.
No, I didn't hear your explanation. I would like you to explain again.
It's not, these accounts would have more than one signatory.
I understand that.
Once one signatory is not available, I cannot send a regular letter. That's why I sent a memo to commit myself that I'm withdrawing these funds, and as soon as the signatories are back, we'll do the proper documentation. There were temporary measures employed with the understanding that we would regularize the situation.
I'm sure you will appreciate that the central bank policies did not permit of these memoranda, and their own answer is it was from the office of the president, and therefore we did it, even though we know it is wrong. Now you are from the office of the president, and what you're telling us is that even though it's wrong, it was urgent, and therefore you did it.
But the intention, I explained, was not to flout the law, was to get done what the president wanted doing, with the intention and understanding with the central bank that these processes will be regularized, and we did regularize other transactions that happened before. We were not acting willingly with pre-intention to flout the law. That was not our intention.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I see that it's time, and we'll require Mr. Sabali to come back tomorrow.
Very well, we'll rise. It's 15:15.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Thank you.